Hi, my name's Jason. It's week 6, day 40 of my full-time chronic pain rehabilitation journey. Today I'm going to talk about judging yourself and how that can get in the way of your recovery and what you can do about it. But first, let's celebrate 40 days. In the Bible, the number 40 has a particular significance. It designates an important period of time. A couple of prominent examples. The children of Israel wandered in the Egyptian desert for 40 years. An important period of time in which they prepared to go to the promised land, and Jesus, from the date of his resurrection to his ascension into heaven, was 40 days. Now, the question is, was it really 40 days or 40 years, or were they just taking some artistic license because they like the number 40? Not going there. That's a little too deep for my video. But anyway, 40 rocks. That's what I'm trying to say. And it's the 40th day of my rehabilitation journey, and it has definitely been a significant time in my life. All right, my status. I've had another miracle morning. Last night, I felt like I was probably going to have some kind of a shutdown episode. I felt bad. I could have sworn I was going to wake up feeling pretty awful, but I didn't. And according to my Fitbit, I had the best sleep I have ever had since I've tracked with Fitbit. My sleeping heart rate was 96% of the time below my daytime resting heart rate. So for example, if my daytime resting heart rate was 75, 96% of the time I was sleeping was below 75 beats per minute, which is fantastic. Before I figured out I had sleep apnea, it was much, much, much worse. In fact, it looked like I was exercising while I was sleeping, not restful. And since I started the rehabilitation journey, this is the best data I've ever gotten, which means I'm heading in the right direction. So yay for sleep. On the tip front today, I have an idea related to continuous improvement. I've talked about this before. And the idea is basically as you go along, you keep making little tweaks. You're kind of striving towards perfection in every little area that you're working in. And one example for me would be diet. At one point, I wasn't eating before I went to the gym, and I wasn't eating immediately afterward. My trainer clued me into the fact this probably wasn't a good idea. My body also clued me to that fact because sometimes I felt a little depleted when I was working out or afterwards when I was done working out. So he helped me to figure out that, you might want to eat an apple before you come to the gym, get some glucose in your bloodstream. Sounds good. And then after you're done working out, get a little more glucose and some protein into your bloodstream. And so I take a bag of nuts with some raisins in it so I can eat after I'm done working out. And this has actually helped me a lot. I feel much, much better during and after my workouts now. He's also having me record what I eat every day. He used to be a professional, he competed basically in bodybuilding when he was in his 20s. And so he has some knowledge about how to build muscle and the kind of diet that it takes to do that. So he's having me record everything that I eat, and then he's going to analyze it and come back and say, hey, you need more of this, maybe less of that. And I'm going to listen to him because what the hell do I know, right? He knows more than I do about building muscle, and I want to build muscle, so I'm going to listen. So that's an example of continuous improvement. All right, back to the topic of the day. Are you judgmental? Because I am. I'm pretty harsh about it. I've had a couple of experiences over the last several weeks where I run into two people that struggle with suicidal ideation. If you don't know what that means, it means basically they sort of fantasize about ending their life because things just seem so grim and dark that they don't want to go on. And what's interesting about these individuals, well, I've been one of them in the past. And so I remember when they're talking to me, I'm like, I know that script. I ran that script. That's my script. Actually, it seems like a universal script that we borrow in some fashion, but there's nothing new under the sun. I recognize everything they're saying and why they're saying it. But what's interesting about these scripts is they're partially true. Like they have taken little aspects of reality and woven it together in a narrative, but they've left out a ton. Any kind of redemptive information, something that might make them look nice, or any kind of circumstantial information that might actually soften the judgment that they have of themselves is conveniently omitted from these scripts. These are very, very harsh judgments. And I judged myself yesterday in the context of my cognitive behavioral therapy group. It wasn't as extreme as people judging themselves when they're suicidal, granted, much less extreme, but I caught myself doing it. And so I want to talk through this scenario with you so you can understand what happened. All right, so cognitive behavioral therapy is, I don't know exactly what it is. I've flirted with it a little bit and I've read a little bit, but I don't know a lot. But what I do understand is that it talks about this complex interaction between your thoughts, your emotions, behaviors, and your body when it comes to pain processing. It's actually a very complicated relationship. All of those factors can influence each other, and so it gets kind of hairy. But we discussed yesterday states of being where you can lessen your pain and states of being where you can increase your pain. And an open gate is when you're lessening your pain, and a closed gate is when you're increasing your pain based upon your thoughts, emotions, behaviors, etc., and things you're doing with your body or not doing with your body. So what was interesting, though, is that I found myself having a judgmental thought. It just kind of came right up. And it was in the context of the lead therapist said, hey, we've done a lot of research on why people feel pain, and it has a lot to do with whether they're open or closed, using that gate analogy. And for some reason, let me give you some background first. So it's very uncommon for people with middle back / thoracic injuries to experience severe pain. It's very uncommon. And so out of the gate, I had already kind of judged myself a long time ago, initially, feeling like, why am I this exception case? Why am I feeling so much? I shouldn't be feeling anything according to the data that I just read, because most people don't even notice that they've screwed up their middle back. But I notice it quite extremely. I feel it a lot. It's very acute for me. And it lingers, and it's a real debilitating influence. So that's the background. And so when she brought up this concept of gates, my initial impulse was to judge myself and go, oh, is it not just that my back is broken? Am I broken in the way that I'm processing pain too? It's not just that I've screwed my back up. It's now I'm screwed up in the way that I'm processing pain too. Is this my fault? Should I not be feeling any pain? Right? If I had my gates aligned properly, if my doors were wide open, would my pain just suddenly disappear? Is this my fault? And so what I think they wanted me to get out of that experience was to learn new coping skills for minimizing my pain, not to turn around and self-incriminate, which is exactly what my impulse was to do. And the reason I bring this up is because I think people do this instinctively in a lot of scenarios, especially when they're chronically depressed or have chronic pain issues. Their impulse is to turn it back on themselves and go, is this my fault? Is this my fault? Am I doing this to myself? Am I broken? Not just my back, is my brain broken? And it's obvious this isn't helpful. It's about as helpful as a suicidal ideation script, frankly. It does not help you. And the reason it doesn't help you is because no one can answer that question, right? It's an unanswerable question. You can't know. There's no way to know. I don't know for sure what's going on. It could be that this is all in my brain and really there's no pain coming from my back anymore and it's just a mental thing. If that were the case, I still need to fix my mind. It doesn't really matter, right? I don't think that's the case, but that's the worry. The worry is it's all in my head. I'm making this up somehow. I'm sort of I'm a hypochondriac of sorts, something like that. But anyway, I've seen this in my chronic pain coping group as well. Other group members do the same thing. So I'm not alone in my craziness. But anyway, the point is the judgment gets in the way of you healing, because what I'm really there to do in this cognitive behavioral therapy group is to develop skills to minimize pain. We're not trying to point the finger and go, well, you really don't have pain. It's all in your head. That wasn't the message, but that was kind of where my brain took it for some reason. Is this all in my head? I'm worried. Am I broken? Is my brain broken? But what I really need to do is focus on the skills they're teaching so that I can open my gate further. It doesn't really matter if it's a little closed or too closed or all the way closed right now. The important part is I need to start cracking that door open, opening the gate so I feel less pain and my pain has less influence in my life. That was the point. But somehow I made it all about me. Is that a narcissistic tendency? It's possible. I've described this sometimes as when you get caught up in a chronic pain cycle, you do become a little bit sort of narcissistic. And I think this was an example of me doing that. It's like, it's all about me. It's all about my brain. Is my brain broken? Am I broken? I had to suspend that thinking for a little bit. And I'm glad that the facilitator pointed out to me. And she also made another important point. You're going to have these kind of thoughts, right? You can't suppress them. But what you can do is be aware of them. am I trying to learn something here to improve my situation, or am I turning it around and blaming myself? And I turned around and blamed myself, and the judgment simply wasn't helpful. And what's funny is harsh self-judgments are a way to close your gate, not open your gate. And so when they were teaching me about how to open my gate, what was I doing? I was closing it. So it was very helpful. I recognized a tendency within myself that could potentially increase my own pain. Again, adding culpability, a sense of I'm broken, it's my fault. Not just that I broke my back, but I also broke my mind. I can't even heal right in my mind and body. Anyway, whatever the case may be, it doesn't help. And so the answer to this is awareness. In this case, the facilitator helped me see what I was doing, pointed it out, so I became more aware of it. So the next time I do it, I can go, aha, I recognize this script, right? This is a judgment script. I'm trying to incriminate myself. I'm trying to, not trying to heal, I'm trying to figure out who done it and who's at fault. And that's really not what the exercise was about. So as you find a tendency to judge yourself in various situations, it might help if, one, you recognize that you're doing it, and two, substitute the idea of improving your situation as opposed to figuring out who done it, who's at fault, or is there some kind of, is this somehow reflecting poorly on you? That's really not the issue. So again, focus on getting better, not on judging yourself. Fighting for your life means focusing on improving your situation, not judging yourself, not figuring out who done it, not figuring out who's to blame, but finding ways to reduce pain, the impact of pain in your life. That's all that really matters. The past is the past. I can't undo the injury I have. I can't undo the mental state, essentially. Up until this point, I can't change my mental state in the past, right? It is what it is. And now I just have to move forward, open the gate, and let the pain be minimized in my life. That's the goal. Does self-judgment get in the way of your recovery? And what have you done about it? Because frankly, I don't think I've done enough, and I'd like to learn more. Please share your thoughts in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe.